and welcome to the Marley Bird YouTube channel, brought to you by Red Heart Yarns. In this video, we will be making this really super cute crochet diaper cover. This diaper cover is part of a pattern that also includes this really fantastic crochet bear hat. But in the video here, I'm only going to be showing the diaper cover. You can find the crochet bear hat in the separate video. I will put a link to it in the video description box below. To make this really great crochet diaper cover, you need 2 balls of Red Heart baby hugs in a worsted weight. You also need 2 different size crochet hooks. One is a G or a 4mm, the other is an H or a 5mm. And last but not least, you need the free pattern, and it's available over on redheart.com. I'll be sure to put a link to the pattern in the video description box right down there below. And while you're down there, please consider smashing that like button and hitting the subscribe button so that way you can get more videos just like this one right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Once you have your materials and your pattern, join me over here and we'll get started on this really great diaper cover up. When looking at the free pattern, you can see there is a note section that mentions that the diaper cover-up is made up of 2 pieces, from the waistband down to the crotch. So we begin with the waistband. For the waistband, we want to begin with a slip knot. So place the tail of your yarn in the palm of your hand, take your working yarn, wrap it around your forefinger and middle finger. When you come back up, cross over. Once you've crossed over, rotate your hand. Using the smaller of the 2 hooks, go underneath the first loop and grab the back loop and pull it off. You now have a slip knot, and when you spread the 2 pieces of yarn apart, it tightens that slip knot right here onto your hook. Now we will go ahead and we will chain the number of chains you need for the diaper cover that you are making. There are 3 different sizes, so make sure you follow along with the size you want. In today's video, I'm making the smallest size, so I will go ahead and chain 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I want to put a single crochet in the second chain from hook. Remember, you never count the loop on your hook. So you would count 1 and 2, and in that second chain, I will go ahead and place a single crochet. Now, following along into the next chain, I will place a single crochet in there as well. And I will continue that down to the end of my row, and this will result in 5 total single crochets. Once I've completed these 5 single crochets, I will turn my work, and the following rows I will only work my single crochets in the back loop. So I begin with a chain 1. And working into the back loop of that stitch. Can you see that V right there? I want to work into the back loop only and work my single crochet. Work into the back loop only and work a single crochet. Back loop only and work a single crochet. I'll do this all the way down the row, and the biggest thing to remember is that we have 5 single crochets for this example. If you're making one of the other sizes, you might have more. But as long as you maintain those 5 single crochet, you will be spot on. Turn your work, chain 1, and continue on. Again, always working into the back loop only of those single crochets. You would repeat this until you have a total of 44 rows for the smallest size, 46 for the medium, and 48 for the large. Once you've reached the full length of your waistband, we will then go ahead and change colors. So what I want to do is on this very last single crochet you did on your waistband, go ahead and undo that stitch. Okay? Now what I want you to do is go back into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop so you have 2 loops on your hook. Grab your next color, okay? So this will be the contrasting color of your diaper cover. And what I want you to do now is I want you to yarn over with the new color and pull that through. What this does is it allows you to change colors without having a color bleed on the actual project. As you take a look down here, you can see that now the loop on my hook is the new color and there isn't a color bleed on the actual waistband. Once you've changed colors, we are also going to change hooks. We no longer want to use the smaller hook. We want to grab our bigger hook. Once you've done that, go ahead and rotate your work. You can go ahead and cut your previous color, the color of the waistband. And so I've rotated my work. Can you see that? I've rotated my work, and I will be placing single crochets as evenly as possible all the way down the long edge of my waistband. The number of crochets you need to work along your waistband is determined by the size you're making. For me, I did the waistband with 44 rows, and I have to do 44 single crochets. So if I put a single crochet at the end of each one of my rows, I will get the perfect stitch count. For you, if you did a waistband with 46, you have to do 46 single crochets. If you did a waistband with 48, you need to do 48. Pretty simple. To work the single crochets along this waistband, we begin with the chain 1 and working into each row, okay? Each row, you just simply put a single crochet. It's pretty easy because on the rows where it's a stitch, we just work it around the whole kind of post of the stitch. And on the next row, we have that one loop there, so you could just use that loop. And then it just makes it easy. It's like you're working around a stitch and you're working into that loop. You're working around a stitch and then you're working into that loop. Go ahead and do this all the way down the row. Once you have finished all of your single crochets along the waistband of the diaper cover, it looks like that. Now what we want to do is work a series of rows of just single crochets back and forth on the single crochets you just completed. The number of rows you will be working is again determined by the size you're working. So if you're making the small or the medium, you need to do 16 rows. If you're doing the large, you need to do 18 rows. Let's go ahead and jump in. You simply pick up your work, give it a turn, work a chain 1, and then continue on just working into both loops of the single crochets you just created. So we are no longer just working into the back loop at all. We're working into the full space that you normally would when you do a single crochet. And you will do this until you have a total of 16 rows or 18 rows. Once you have reached the number of rows you need to work for this portion of the diaper cover, let's go ahead and work on the next part, which is shaping the leg. And we will work through these rows together. So I have turned my work and I'm ready to start. For me, this would be row 17. For the small, for the medium, it's row 17. For the large, this would be row 19. So I've turned my work. I will skip this first single crochet and I'm going to slip stitch in the next 3. So I will go into the next stitch over and slip stitch. So there's 1, 2, 3. So I've slip stitched in the next 3 single crochet. Now a single crochet in the next 36 for the size small. If you're making the size medium, it would be 38. If you're making the large, it would be 40. What you will notice is by working that number of stitches, and then we will leave the remaining stitches unworked, is we have left open 4 stitches along this edge and 4 stitches along this edge. Okay, so now I would go ahead and I turn my work, and once again I would skip the first single crochet and I'll slip stitch in the next 3. So there's 1, 2, 3, and now I go ahead and I work my single crochets down to the opposite end for the number of single crochets I need to do for the size I'm making. For the small, that would mean 28. For the medium, that is 30, and for the large, that is 32. Once again, when you get to the last stitch of the row, you will leave the remaining 4 stitches unworked and turn your work and move on to the next row. So the next row has to skip the very first stitch again, and then we slip stitch in the next 3 single crochet. Now I will go ahead and single crochet down until I have 4 single crochet remaining that I will leave unworked. Once again, at the end of the row, you will leave the remaining 4 stitches unworked, turn your work, and continue on with the pattern. Skip the first single crochet, slip stitch in the next 3, and then single crochet down until the last 4 single crochet. As I work the last stitch of this row, I am ready to turn my work and begin the next row, which has us do a little bit different type of shaping. We begin with a chain 1, and we'll start off with a single crochet into this first single crochet right here. Now we're going to do a single crochet 2 together to decrease our stitches. So we go into this first single, yarn over, pull up a loop, then go into the next single over, yarn over, pull up a loop. So you have 3 loops on your hook. And when you yarn over and pull through all 3 loops, you are left with one remaining like V at the top, but we have decreased those 2 stitches into 1. Once you've worked that decrease, you will then single crochet over to the last 3 stitches of this row. Once you've done that, you then work a decrease again. So I go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, go into the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, draw through all 3. Then I will work a single crochet in my last stitch there, and I am left with a smaller number of stitches. For the larger of the 2 diaper cover sizes, you have to work 1 more row, and it will be very similar to what we just did, only you'll have fewer stitches between those 2 single crochet 2 togethers. Once you've done that, we finish off with 2 basic rows of just single crochet. For the 2 basic rows of single crochet, we would turn our work, chain 1, and simply single crochet across all of the stitches we have remaining. When we're done with these 2 rows, we will finish off our work and be done with the back of the diaper cover. When you're done with the 2 rows, you will go ahead and fasten off your work, and you are done with the back of the diaper cover. Now that you have finished the back of the diaper cover, it's time to make the front, which is made very similar to how we made the back. We will make a waistband, you will turn the waistband and work along the long edge of the waistband a certain number of stitches, and then follow along with all the shaping. Go ahead and finish the front of the diaper cover. Join me back here and I'll show you how to do the finishing of the 2 pieces. You're almost done, don't stop now. You are done with the back, let's get the front done and we'll join the 2 pieces together. For the front of the diaper cover, you need to make the waistband through row 17 or 19, depending on the size you're making. You will then change colors just as you did on the waistband for the back. You will then go ahead and chain 1 and work single crochets evenly along the long side of the waistband. When you get to the end of this row, go ahead and turn your work, chain 1, and work single crochets all the way down. You will continue this for 16 rows for the small, 17 for the medium, 18 for the large. Once you've completed all of those rows, this is what your work looks like at this point. Now it's time for us to shape the leg on the front. Unlike the back, we actually begin with our single crochet and single crochet 2 together shaping for this row and the next several rows. We don't have any rows of actually doing slip stitches at the start. Follow along with the pattern until you get through row 20 for the small, 21 for the medium, and 22 for the large. Once you have finished all of those rows, this is what your work looks like at this point. The next 3 rows are simply just single crocheting across the remaining stitches of your work. Go ahead and finish those 3 rows. Once you finish those 3 rows, this is what your work looks like. It's some subtle shaping on the front of the diaper cover. Snip your yarn and go ahead and fasten off. this part of your work is complete. Now you have the front and the back of the diaper cover completed. Once you have the front and the back finished, it's time to do a little seaming. As you take a look down here, I have the front and the back pieces facing me with the right side up. How do you know which is the right side or wrong side? Here's what I do. If I'm looking at the front piece here, you see where the single crochets are worked into the waistband? See how it's a nice V stitch? And if I rotate this over, you can see where the single crochets are worked in the waistband and the V stitch is opened up a lot more because that's the back side of that single crochet row. So for me, I prefer to have this side as my right side. Once you have both right sides facing you, it's time to do some seaming. So what we will do is keep the back with the right side facing, and when they take the front and we're going to turn it upside down, and we will place the crotch area of the diaper cover with the right sides of the pieces facing each other, just like so. Then you will take a bent tip tapestry needle, thread with the yarn you used for the body of your piece, and we are going to seam the crotch area of the diaper cover together. For me, I'm just going to use a simple whip stitch right along the two edges here. And I like to go ahead and start off my seam with a knot. So I thread through both, and then as I pull this through, it's going to create just a slight little knot just to secure it. And then I always leave 4 to 6 inches down here with that tail, so that way I can go back and weave that in. Then I'm simply just going to work a whip stitch to close this up. Once you get to the end, make sure you secure the final bits here. And I, again, like to just create a small little knot. It's just like a slip stitch, just to connect everything together. And then I can go back and go ahead with the yarn as it's still attached to my tapestry needle and weave in my tail. On this end, I will go up and then working into some of the stitches, go back the opposite direction. Give that a good snip. And then while I'm at it, I will go ahead and weave in this one as well. Once your tails are woven in, it's time to join the side seam of the diaper cover. To join the side seam, we're literally going to take this edge and meet it up with this edge right here. And because we did the same number of rows, everything should meet up just fine. I will use the same color of yarn as I'm whip stitching this section together, and then I will change to this color of yarn to seam that bit together. This is just like we did for this bottom portion, only now we are joining row for row. And again, I'm just going to use a simple whip stitch. As you add your yarn, make sure you leave a nice long tail so that way you have something to weave in. And then make sure you're matching up each row as you work all the way up to the top. You don't want to get to the top and have the rows be off and then your colors be offset. Make sure you really secure that yarn as you go across. Once you've whip stitched the whole piece, go ahead and take a moment to weave in your tail right now. It's already attached to your needle, so why not? Go ahead and weave this one in. And once that's complete, go ahead and weave in your tail that you started in with. Pretty simple, just as long as you make sure you're weaving everything in on the wrong side, nice and secure. Once you have finished that, go ahead and rethread your needle with the same color yarn you used for your waistband. Then join the yarn just as you did at the start of the side with that little knot trick I showed you, and then use the whip stitch to seam the waistband bit together. Again, go ahead and weave in your tails right now, closing up any holes you might run across. Snip your tails, and that part is done. Now we can go ahead and seam the opposite side. It's going to be the exact same way we just did this side. Go ahead and thread your needle with the same color yarn as you used for the body of the diaper cover, and then join the yarn with the joining knot that I showed you at the start, and go ahead and work the whip stitch, working row for row all the way to the top, just as you did the opposite side. When the piece is complete, it's going to look like this on the wrong side. Go ahead, flip it right side out, and let's take a look at your beautiful work. How cute is that? Oh my gosh, I'm simply in love. Now that you've completed the diaper cover, there's one part left, just some leg cuffs. Really easy to do, so let's go ahead and jump in. With the right side of your diaper cover facing you and starting down here at the crotch edge, you want to go ahead and using your color B, which is the same color you used for your waistband, you want to go ahead and join with a slip stitch right here at the seam. And we're using our smaller hook again, but you will put your hook into that seam edge, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and draw through that loop. So we've just joined it. Now, working as evenly as possible around this entire opening, you will do a series of stitches as written in the pattern. I will start off with a chain 1, and then I will single crochet in that same space that I did my join. Now, for the size small, I will work all the way around this leg opening and trying to make sure that I have 32 stitches evenly spaced. For the medium, you want 33, and for the large, you want 35. As you're working around your leg cuff, you'll notice that these stitches are really going to even up any rough edges that you have around the leg when we were doing the shaping on the back and the front. When you get to the last stitch, you are going to go ahead and join with a slip stitch to the very first single crochet. So there's my first single crochet. I will go in, yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull that through. So I've joined with the slip stitch, so now I have all of my stitches in the round. Now I go ahead and I'm going to work rounds 2 and 3 for the small and medium size, and then I have one more round for the large size. I start off here with the chain 1, and then I simply single crochet in each one of the single crochets all the way around. When you get to the end of the round, you will go ahead and work a slip stitch into the very first single crochet of that round in order to finish off the round right there. Then you chain 1 and you will begin the next round right on top of all the stitches you just created. Do not turn your work, simply just keep working in the round, doing those single crochets all the way until you get to the end of this round. If you're doing the large size, you have to do one more round after this. For all sizes, when you're done with every single round, you will finish off with a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round, just like that. And then you can go ahead and finish off your work. Do a chain, snip your yarn, give it a pull, and it's finished. Now, just like before, go ahead and weave in your ends so that way you're not waiting to the very end to do that part. Just tuck them in right there on the wrong side of the work. Once you've completed the first leg cuff, make sure you do the second leg cuff just in the same way as the first. Then weave in any tails that happen to be hanging out there and your diaper cover is complete. This is what it should look like when everything is done. We have a very cute leg cuff, which is the same color as the waistband, and a super well-fitting diaper cover right here. I hope you enjoyed making this really great crochet diaper cover, and if you're interested in making the crochet bear hat to match, make sure you check out that video. I'll be sure to put a link in the video description box right down there below. I'm Marley Bird, proud spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns. Thank you. Everything you need to know about knitting or crochet can be found right here on the Marley Bird YouTube channel. Learn with Marley Bird. Visit youtube.com/Marley Bird.